Good evening, campers, it's me, Kieran. Today we're going to talk about Salman Rushdie's 1995 novel, The Moor's Last Sigh. From the very first page up until the last, The Moor's Last Sigh wraps its tendrils around the topic of Indian history and the complexities of Indian identity. Set in the vibrant yet tumultuous India, we follow our main protagonist, Moor Zagobi, fondly known as and referred to as The Moor's Last Sigh follows the life of our narrator. But in true Rushdie style, we don't just get the Moor's life, we get the life of his family of generations past and present. The term Moor has been used historically to describe Muslim inhabitants of places such as Sicily, the Iberian Peninsula, and Malta in the Middle Ages. And in the context of The Moor's Last Sigh, Moor, because of his diverse religious and cultural background, doesn't feel as though he fits into his homeland, India, or is the last surviving member of his once wealthy and prominent family. The Zagobi family really can be described as a melting pot. Just focusing on their religions, we have Hindus, Muslims, Christians, and Jews all living together. As this is Rushdie, we are going to look at the cultural and historical conflicts within India, and here he exacerbates these notions. While the Zagobi family roots are set in Kerala, the historical connections and the intermingling between communities allows Rushdie to examine the microcosm of the Zagobi family to discuss the macrocosm of India. But as the story unfolds, we realise that the Moor really is displaced. He is alone. He doesn't fit in anywhere in any of the communities. Moor struggles with his multicultural identity and family heritage, especially in an increasingly globalized world. This idea is not new to Rushdie, and it's not new to Indian authors. We can see this within The White Tiger and The Inheritance of Loss. Within post-partition literature, you definitely do see characters that are out of sync with their surroundings. This is the meaning behind the title, The Moor's Last Sigh. The Moor's Last Sigh is letting go of tradition and looking to embrace a globalized modern world. A world that is rapidly evolving, a world that is rapidly changing, and India at this present moment in the 1990s is going through significant change. It's going through significant evolution. This book is littered with characters, and to focus on one would mean to ignore the others. They are a cacophony of voices that are just captivating, enthralling, and it allows Rushdie as various mouthpieces to discuss the various themes. All characters are directly or indirectly affected by colonialism, and we start off the story not with Moor, but with his father, Abraham. Abraham made the Zagobi name what it was by his spice dealing, an enormously successful businessman and trader under the British colonial rule. Abraham's success, however, is not without its fault. It's due to exploitation, suppression, and oppression, and how those factors operate on India's economic and societal landscape will have ramifications in the future. So while Rushdie is exploring the nuances and the complexity of colonialism, he's wrapping it all up within a family saga, which makes this enthralling to read. This, alongside Rushdie's trademark and masterful weaving of historical figures, events, and atrocities, makes this book not only inviting, but gut-punching. Tension and conflict between Hindus and Muslims is not something that only happens post-partition. It happens pre-partition, as showcases within Bishram Sani's Tamas. But it's the Babri Masjid demolition alongside the riots within Ashdod that is the backdrop for all of this. This is the pivotal moment. The Babri Masjid was a mosque in Ayodhya in Uttar Pradesh, India. It was one of the oldest and most significant mosques in the country. Now, the mosque's location was contentious to the Hindus. The contention lied in the belief that the mosque was built upon where a temple dedicated to Lord Ram, one of the figureheads of the Hindu religion, once stood. And this temple was considered to be the birthplace of Lord Ram, making this site sacred to millions of Hindus. Since the mosque's construction within the late 16th century, there has been many contestation, many legal battles, and many conflicts, but everything comes to a head within December 1992, where a large crowd of Hindu nationalists, right-wing activists, and extremists decide to demolish the mosque. The demolition of the Babri Masjid caused violence throughout India. Rushdie, within The Moor's Last Sigh, demonstrates the violence, the chaos that is spurred from this moment, how cultural tensions come to loggerhead, and how this will ultimately shape not only the societal but the political landscape of India in years to come. It was then and still is today a sensitive and complex issue, with Muslims wanting the rebuilding of the mosque and Hindus wanted the rebuilding of the Hindu temple. As the ruins of the Babri masjid looms in the background, we begin to understand how the Moor's family and his own personal story is intertwined within the mosque's story, further adding to his alienation of self. We as the reader are led to question what is going to happen to the Moor, but there is an initiation, a chain reaction of events that just reverberates throughout this story that just upend all questions. With the mention of the emergency years under Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, which saw widespread oppression and the suppression of civil liberties, the introduction of the Bombay Tiger, who stands in for Dawood Ibrahim, a notorious Indian gangster and terrorist, and while the handshake between politics and crime is going on, there is a rise in Hindu nationalism. Rushdie's work has always served as a conduit in order to tackle India's history, and we see that mirrored within the Moor's artwork. Art for the Moor is not only a sense of escaping the real world, it's about showcasing the connections between Indians, even if the blood on the streets says otherwise. Art, its value and its merit is, for Rushdie, encaptured within the artistic dance of Kathakali. To become a Kathakali dancer, you don't just learn the moves, you don't just understand the mudras, you have to understand the classics, the music, the history, the literature, and the poetry. Discipline and the execution of discipline is what underpins Kathakali. It's what underpins, to Rushdie, true Indian expression, true Indian excellence. Rushdie's interrogation of India's history, alongside the interrogation of art and its usefulness in telling that history, is just sublime. And to have this draped over a family saga about personal and family reflections, it just makes this just such a it is such a depth of storytelling. He is just a master of his craft. It's a shame he didn't do this within the Golden House. We refuse to talk about the Golden House here. It's not Rushdie canon. For me, The Moor's Last Sigh is a 9 out of 10. It is enthralling, it is enticing, and it is challenging, and it's everything a great book should be.